We are live, y'all. We're in the building. Hello, hello, hello. We're going to give a second for everybody to get into the room to go ahead and like and share. Today is going to be an easy flow day. We still going to have them tough conversations, but we are excited about today's conversation. I don't know. It's not nothing that we haven't already talked about before, but it is something that I think that we're going to take the time out to really, really delve into. So I'm excited about that. If you guys don't know, my co host next to me, as always, my beautiful mommy. Hello, mother. Hello, hello, hello.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings, greetings, greetings. I'm dealing with technology today. I think we had a
That's all
technology
right.
issue last week too. I don't know. I'm on my little Lenovo tablet because my laptop is doing its own thing.
It's all right.
Is that
It's
what we
okay.
do?
That's what we do all the time. People go back and they watch and they let us know, all of their thoughts and their comments. We just love when you guys actually attend live. If you guys don't know, please drop your comments and all of your stuff in the chat box. We can see them. We like to read them, and we love to be able to give you all a shout out. It is time. It is time. And so, if you haven't uh, liked and shared, please do so. Well, y'all, for y'all who haven't had the opportunity to get to know who we are here in the beauty shop, this is a place, a part of the throne room, the space that we have created for you, me, and everybody else. Sister, girlfriend, sister across the street, brother down the street, around the corner, a
Mama and
son.
grandma when they come in to get the press and curl.
That's right. That's right. We've created this space just for you and I to come on up in here to be able to get our whole lives together so that we could be able to purge from our issues, heal from our wounds, and find rest so that we might be able to transform into that which we have been called and created to become. And you all know what that is. That is royalty. My name is Monika Jackson. I am your host. I'm honored to be here to be able to begin these conversations with all of you. And next to me, again, we're going to give her another shout out. That mommy, it wouldn't happen without her, the one and
All
only, y'all.
the glory.
It starts all with her, the mommy. And we cannot forget our beautiful Lady
Lady
Ford.
Ford.
She has sent her love to everyone as she has been navigating this week and trying to get things in order on her end. She is not going to be able to make it with us today, but she is actually here, I know, so in spirit. And so we can't wait to have her back
We
here.
feel her heart. Yes.
Yes, we can't wait to have her back here in the beauty shop with us in just a few weeks. However, today's conversation, we're going to kick it off. If you weren't here to be able to be a part of Blurred Lines Part 1, go back and listen to it. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was a very heavy topic. We talked about boundaries. We talked about us not taking and placing blame on other people for our inability to really come through for ourselves and protect ourselves as women in relationships with others. And we weren't just talking about intimate relationships, we were talking about the dynamics of all types of relationship. So today, part two, mommy and I are kicking off this thing, having this real conversation, not just about respecting yourself, but, you know, I guess, Ma, I don't know if I should say it this way, but it's really talking about, you know, I'm going to work with what I got. I'm going to get what I want with all that I got. I'm going to shape what my mama gave me, all of this goodness and voluptuousness in order to get what I want. And we're going to kind
Yeah.
of take the covers off of that a little bit and really delve into some conversation about what that really means for us. And when we're working from a place of utilizing just what I got internally to get what I want, and what that means as we think about the ways in which we might. manipulate and cause things to happen so that we can get what we want. And then we're going to be talking a little bit more about how that could actually affect us, even actually getting what is really in store for us from a different perspective. Mommy, I see you got that technology piece in order. Let's see. Let's see. Hello there, beautiful queen. I see you much better, Mom. Let's see if we hear you. Mic check.
Able to check in this over.
You're let me
Yeah.
see. Okay, now I can hear you. I can hear you. Let's hear. All right, y'all. Again, if you are in the room, please drop your names. We want to hear and get a shout out from you. For you, we want to shout you out for being in the room with us today. All right, mommy, did you hear what I was saying about this using what we got to get what we want? And
You know what I was
sometimes
there was just a lag. What your mama gave you because your daddy ain't gave you nothing.
it's so crazy, mom. Yeah. I think though that for this your hey, your technology, mom, is it still acting up a little bit? I think I like the pad better. Let me
You like
see.
me better on the tab? Well, we can go back there.
Oh, I think it's picking up on your end now. So I think it's okay. I didn't want you to lag. Shout out to our brother Calvin Thomas who is watching. Please be safe, brother, while you're driving, but thank you
Greetings,
for tuning in.
Calvin.
Yes. So, so go back and say shout out to sister our blue note, our talented sister. She has been flying all over. She has been all the way back up north in our hometown. She's been doing all of her greatness, just shining her light all across the world, singing, doing our favorite songs with Lauren Hill and all kind of stuff. We want to give her a shout out.
My
Melinda,
girl.
we sending you great vibes, good energy, girl. Keep doing it. Keep breaking barriers and setting new standards for our community and for your family. We're so proud of you here. All right, mother, I'm gonna take you off on this end. All right. So go back, mom, because you made a statement that was
All right.
awesome. You
So
were
go back,
talking
Mom,
about
'cause you made a
our
statement that was awesome. You were talking about our.
I'm gonna take you off, take yourself off of the stream
I'm
on the
gonna
other end,
take
mom.
yourself
I
off of
can't
this
mute
screen
you.
on the other end.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get me off of here too.
Okay,
Okay,
you're
so now
off.
I'm only on my
Yes.
tablet because it's better here.
Yep. Yes. All right. So go back, mom. So we talked you made the comment, you were going back and readdressing the quote. So go ahead and re-give it to us again.
Well, for me, when I was growing up, I know for you, you were saying we're going to use what we got to get what we want. I think that comes
Mhm.
like that reminds me of James Brown. You got to use
Mhm.
what you got to get what you want. But my mother would always say, and it was the laughing, it was the joke. That whenever we were together and girl time and we were laughing, everybody having a good time. Use what your mama gave you because your daddy ain't gave you
Give you
nothing.
nothing.
So
That's
that
such
was the joke. But you know what I'm going to say to you when you were shouting out to Miss Blue Note? Um,
mhm.
and it's so apropos that Lauren Hill, the miseducation.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Perfect.
said you didn't know that little Freudian thing that went on right there because it is that's what it boiled down to. Because when we were doing that, we were talking about these blurred lines as they relate to women and relationships and being disrespected, and how we deal with our own mental health, and how it begins with us. That we have to, it's not about blame, it's about self acknowledgement. No matter how bad the situation was, we had
Yeah.
to, and that does not relinquish the blame or take the blame away. And I don't want to use that word blame, I'll use
Right.
accountability.
Accountability.
That does
Yes.
not leave our brothers unaccountable. But what it
Right.
does do is it makes us to stop and back up and say that regardless of what another does,
Mhm.
there is a greater level of responsibility on me.
On me. Yes. to
That's
come
where
through
the
for
self.
me.
I'm wanting something, whatever it is that I'm wanting from you. I have to begin with it myself. I can't
Yes.
look to you to add and give and validate. Because when I do that, when I start using what I got to try to
To
make
get
things
what
go
I
the way
want.
I want, to get close, to get the joy, whatever it is that I'm looking for, that peace or serenity or to move
Hmm.
up, to get those bags, whatever it
Right.
is that I'm looking for. When I'm doing
Hmm.
that, I myself, when I think about it in context of scripture, as I always come, it talks about it being even that witchcraft because it is this form, it's manipulation.
Right. Right. But some people don't always see it as manipulation. They see it as, I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to, figure out this thing called life. And to be honest, there were points in time in my life where I felt like I didn't have any other choice because otherwise I would suffer with my children. Right. Or I couldn't get to a different place in my journey unless I had taken control of that. But I do want to say that oftentimes when I had to take control and manipulate my way through things, it fell apart anyway. And I had to start either from the beginning or I had to redo it another way anyway. So
Truth telling, let's tell the truth, because the
yeah,
truth says that even how I got to that place was the
yes,
result again of
very,
my trying to take control. See, that's that
yes,
term control. It stems back
mm,
in my trying to take control from way back at those each level. I go back. I'm still trying to manage it. We say manage, but again, it comes back to manipulate it because it has
mm-hmm,
to do with what I believe I'm capable of, what I believe I'm entitled to, what I believe and perceive that it is that I need to get what it is. Because remember, the
mm-hmm.
key is what I want.
Right, right. And what we always want isn't exactly or necessarily what we need. And our standards by which we say what we want is normally dictated by what society has said that we should have, right? Or where we should be. And so I think that oftentimes our belief system is not in it- it's misaligned. It's misunderstood where
The
our true
lines have
belief
been
system is.
blurred. It's blurred
Yes.
because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about as we're having this conversation is I'm doing some things to get what I say I want, but the very things that I'm doing are keeping me from what it is that I
Getting
want.
it. Yeah.
Because I'm
Mm.
thinking that these things that I'm doing, this way that I'm moving mad. And how I'm
Mhm.
moving, I'm thinking is
Messed
going to
up.
get me the thing that I want. But the thing that's immediately in front of me that I'm thinking that I want, that's deceptive too, because I'm thinking that that thing can give me what I want. And then when I get it, see, and this is what happens too with the lines being
Mhm.
blurred, because that's what happens when I think about that song, Blurred Lines, and she's a good girl, and I know you want it, I know you want it. So what is this thing you want? So I'm going to give it to you, but is that really what she wanted?
She wanted, right. And then I also think about the fact that we think that we can control it, right? We can control ourselves, we can control the things that we can do to
Ooh.
get it. I'm thinking in my mind, I can only think, and I know, Mom, you understand where this is gonna come from, but I'm thinking of the addict. I'm thinking of a person who is addicted and don't know that they're kind of deceiving themselves about where they are in life and they think that they have control over this thing, but this thing really has control over them. And so they're thinking that, oh, I just need $5. That's it. All I need is this, and I'm really gonna go get something to eat and I need this for my car, or I need to do this. But really in the back of their mind, they're trying to manipulate themselves and other people into thinking that they got things all together when really this thing has a stronghold on them. It's so many levels to that.
We're trying to satisfy something deeper because we're using the
Mhm.
surface thing to get to the thing to get to what it really is. Because we really don't recognize in a great sense what it is. You know,
Mhm.
because it's like with the addict. we talk about that person who's yearning the $5. The $5 isn't. They don't want the $5 for the $5,
No.
and they don't want the drug for the drug itself.
They want
They
what it
don't
does.
want the substance. They want what it's the results of that it can give, that reaction, the response in the body. They're seeking after this feeling, this sense of escape, of connectedness to whatever it
Mm.
is, this greater sense of comfort.
Self.
Because remember, the thing we're trying to do is that we want to avoid the pain and the suffering. So we cling to those things that we think are going to give us the satisfaction or prevent us from experiencing that thing that we don't want to experience. So we can get numb.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that feeling that I get because I don't have to think about, I don't have to deal with whatever or what's not,
Mm-hmm. I
because I
think
go to, I zone somewhere else.
my son is gonna kill me. So I had this conversation with him earlier, and a part of the conversation when I said, "Well, what do you want, honey? What is it that you are looking for? What do you need?" And he says, "I don't know." And we began to have a conversation about really him looking inward and seeing what it is that he's chasing after. And one of the things that he says is, "I just want peace." And I said, "Well, what does that mean? How do you know when you've obtained peace?
That's
What
it
does that
right
look
there.
like for you?" And one of the things that stuck out in my mind because he got this tattoo, it's like I found peace in the rain, right? And I kind of broke this down where are we really finding peace and what it means to be in the rain when we find it. But one of the things that really came to the forefront of the conversation was the fact that he said, sometimes I smoke because I write and it helps me to figure out the flow of stuff and to be able to get my words out and to say this and to do this and all this other stuff. And we talked about the real meaning of stories, and the fact that maybe what it was that he was lacking was the courage and the confidence to be able to know that he can tell his story, but that it required him to get to a level or a space outside of himself, that he was more than the body, that it was a point in time where he has to learn how to be able to transcend a space that you just stay right here. And I have to think surface wise about what it is that my needs are here on in I want to just say in the earthly realm. I know that for some people is a little bit heavy, but for me it's like I got to have a chance to say to him, I can tell you that I've been high since I was 8 years old. If you ask your grandma, I've experienced high that brought me to other spaces. And he's looking at me all weird, but it's really about being able to get to know who you are and center yourself. And this could take constant work. It takes constant dying to self. This stuff is real heavy, mom. It takes our understanding of ourselves from a place not just here where we say our needs, our external needs need to be met, but it takes us to a place where we say internally, who am I? Who am
Well, you
I?
know what, Monica, too, part of it is it's like, am I feeling safe enough to be me?
Mm-hmm.
Am I feeling safe?
Mm-hmm.
And so I make these moves, and I do things, these because it's not the path to where I'm wanting. Because like he was saying, it was, the line had been blurred. It's not clear, and sometimes we blur the lines, and
Yeah.
other times the lines are blurred for us, because what when we talk about looking for truth and our lines being and boundaries being established and set by our belief systems, or that our belief systems determining what is truth for us. And it makes me think about I think about that saying about for as far as my rules are killing me.
Mm.
It's my belief system is killing me. And so
Mm-hmm.
I try to seek a way, because I feel like that, I feel the death, the dark, and the dying, and I want
Mm-hmm.
to get back to a place of life. And so I seek out those things, those situations, and those settings. I'm not trying to blur the lines in my truth, but I'm really trying to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the pathway to it is not clear.
It's not
And
easy.
so
And we're scared.
I'm not sure. That's right, because I'm not feeling safe anymore.
Yeah, we're
And so
scared.
now I gotta use what I got. The little,
Manipulate it.
it talks about, because I'm trying to manipulate and maneuver and move around in this thing so I can get to this place where I feel safe, that
Because
place
we
where
really
I feel
don't
that,
trust.
no,
We
we
don't
don't trust
trust
the
in
process.
ourselves. We don't trust God. We
We
don't
don't
trust the
trust our belief
process.
system.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
These
because we don't know
rules,
what to believe in. We don't know what to believe in because we have
because
yet to
everything
identify what we're connected to.
because everything is blurred, because the things that we thought were true we see them start to crumble and fall. We thought this was solid and stable, and then this thing falls apart. It doesn't work. I thought this was the way to go. When I went that way and I showed up this way, and I ended up getting hurt or losing everything. It didn't turn
Mhm.
out the way because that's how life is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about myself, right? And I think about even trying to like get through school. Like I think about even like relationships that I've been in that I didn't trust the fact that God had a plan for me that was bigger than what I saw at the present moment. And so I didn't even trust the fact that God had a plan for the person I was encountering.
You didn't even trust the fact that this your understanding of God wasn't even stable enough so you could trust in Him to
Right.
be who He said He is. Well, I don't even
Right.
know who He says He is. I know that I've seen people say and talk about this God, and the way I see them show up and respond, and how the very same people caused and manipulated situations
Hurt.
that were
Mhm.
detrimental to me, that I no longer wanted a
Mhm.
part of it. And so there was nothing else. The only thing I'm left with is me. And when
Yeah.
the only thing I'm with is me, then I now am in pursuit of all kinds of things because I'm trying to seek out and search. I don't have a boundary.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
all
have
over
a
the
line.
place.
It's going to be blurred. You can't trust me either, because as I find out and discover who I am, I'm going to switch up
I'm
on you.
changed. Right. And then that's why
And
you say you changed.
sometimes
Like you
I
ain't
should
the
be
same
switching
person.
up.
Yeah. 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 But this is, I think that that's a great place to start when we talk about that truth telling, the acknowledgement and the confession piece, is to say that I'm scared and I don't know and I am fearful and I don't have it
I
all
am,
together.
I have to say that I am. I mean,
Right.
I'm working, I'm getting better. I may be more confident and than before, but the confidence can't be in me because I learned that I can't trust me and my feelings and my emotion because I'm not what I think.
Yeah.
You know
I'm
what I'm
not
saying? Because
who
my
I
thoughts can
am.
go rampant.
Right, I'm not who I am, but I think that, in that confession piece and Mom, you and I have done a part and is still doing this part of the journey of God, show me, right? It's an ugly space, and it requires a lot of you to be able to sit back and say, "Show me who I really am in all of my rawness, the ugliness, and everything,"
The
so that
uniqueness,
yes, but it's beautiful, right? It's beauty for ashes, right?
because
It's
it's
a
not a shock to God.
no, no. And I think that when we reach this understanding, we then stop trying to manipulate our way through, but we allow God to move us and we allow ourselves the space to be able to move with life, right? Like I think about that, the space and time continuum. They haven't listened to our time management stuff. So I don't want to talk about it in a way that they wouldn't understand, Mom. So I'm saying it this way because I think that as live, I have to know that I am not separate from the time that I've been given to live out life. And that I oftentimes we think that we're experiencing things apart from the way in which or the time that we've been given it, to live. I don't know if I can explain this in a way so that they'll understand that our experiences are not, things are not happening to us. That we live in a way that things are are learning experiences for us to learn how to mature and evolve so that we can get to know who we are more clearly.
Because who we
So
are
we
has
can
already been
trust.
established.
Right. It's already so that we can trust the process.
And
That
that
we
we're
know,
just becoming, and maybe I need this rain today.
yes,
I need
yes,
this pain. I needed this relationship. I needed this
yes,
argument. Or I needed this happy moment. I
yeah,
needed this job, but I don't need it for eternity. I didn't need it
right.
forever, but I needed it at that point in time. So when it's gone, I have to say, oh, I no longer needed that. It's
Yeah.
time for me to go on to something else because my trust can't be misplaced and put into these things because then I'm feeling that I now assume the position that I'm in control of things and I have to manipulate to keep it and make it stay when it wasn't supposed to stay. That the only thing that I'm supposed to do is to understand who I am, and it is I am unfolding even to me, that I
Hmm.
have to trust that when I get these uneasy feelings and these difficult times and situations in life that I think are pain points, that they're really the blessings, the things that's going to work together for my good to get me to the place that I need to be, not just for me, but for the others.
I think the first thing that just came to mind just now was forgive yourself. It's almost as if to say, forgive yourself and give yourself grace and mercy so that you can get to know who you are. Sometimes it's hard for you to stop where you are and bring yourself back in because it's almost as if it feels like things are so out of control, right? Like that you can't see how to bring yourself back in because you've dug a hole so deep. And that people have mismanaged your love, your kindness, and even your trust in them. But I want to say forgive yourself so that you give yourself an opportunity. I'm thinking about me. It came a point where I had to forgive me for allowing others, but not just others, but for not showing up for me in a way that would protect me. So if I was honest about the situation, I couldn't expect anyone else to be honest with me if I wasn't going to be honest with myself. And that started with, it's okay, Monika, get up, girl. It's all right. You dug the hole. Start again. Grace and mercy is sufficient. You give it
Compassion
to
for
you.
you.
Right, right. And
You know,
that's okay.
you know what I'm thinking too? Our lines are supposed to be blurred. I'm
Hmm.
thinking about this thing with boundaries. Because if they are set in stone, then how will I grow? I have boxed myself in because if they are connected to my belief system and my truths. I have to have them enough that I know there has to be a line, but there has to
Hmm.
be some blur so that I can allow the God in my life,
Right,
because as a Christian, allow God to be God and move me from this place to the next place, because otherwise I'm stagnant. There'll be no growth.
right.
I
So
can't
as I
stay
mature,
under there. I have to recognize that there is this place. Yes, there is a boundary, but it can't be a rigid. It's like when we say we got to be flexible and bend. Why? Because we're not
yeah,
the ones in control. And we don't
right,
exist as an island. We exist with other people. And not only are their lines being blurred, and they're coming more, it gets to be more and more clear. It's like the scripture talks about when I was a child, I spoke as a child. And when I
right,
became a man, I saw through a glass darkness. I could
yeah.
barely hear. It was unclear. But as I grew and understood more, I became more aware and the picture became clearer and clearer. So there's supposed to be a blur.
I
But
think
we're
that,
not supposed to stay behind there. It's
yeah,
supposed to become more and more clear.
right. The boundary isn't for rigid living, right?
No,
The boundary
no,
isn't to
that's the
create
thing. That's the point. I want to make that clear. It's not about rigid living.
right. It's about protecting. So it's about being able to protect that which is on the inside and protect that which is on the outside. Because when there's no boundary, there's liable, that's where the crossing of lines happen and people become hurt, damaged, they're unprotected, and anything is bound to happen, right? And
But
so we
remember,
create,
the blur doesn't say there isn't a line, that there
right.
isn't a boundary.
But the blurred space that you're speaking about is the ability to have harmonious living in a way that gives space and room for us to
Yes,
grow. And as
yes.
we learn ourselves, our what we'll say is spiritual maturity. We mature in a way that means that our boundaries, the lines that the things that are held within the boundaries expand. Calvin said, life is a continual journey. We never arrive at our permanent destination until we leave this earth realm. Every place is a stepping stone to the next. Life must always be in motion. I agree. I agree.
Because
And
we're,
because, go ahead, Mom.
I said, because we're getting closer and closer. And we recognize when we start to see ourselves and that we are in process, and as Calvin says, that we're in motion, and that yes, this is a journey means movement, that I'm not to be stuck, that I have to be open for change, myself to change and others to change as well, and that I am an instrument too in the process, because I recognize that I am not doing this and journeying alone, that as
Right.
I'm journeying with others, I'm learning from them more about who I am, because that's how I discover me. When I understand my role, that when I start to function in order instead of out of order, I begin to understand and see more clearly, because the boundaries do give us order to add order to our lives. And
Right.
is that understanding of that order, and we're required to acknowledge certain things and to learn and be open, which means that we have to be in a continual state of forgiveness.
Mm,
Didn't say forgetfulness. I mean, it just say
right.
forgive and forget.
No.
But we have to be in a state of forgiving ourselves, forgiving others, forgiving the situation and circumstances in life that happen to us, because that forgiveness is just being able to walk away from it intact.
Right.
Because when we don't forgive, we're leaving parts of us somewhere. I'm leaving a part of me over here and over there because I've remained attached to it.
Yeah. I there's a part of me that really wants to think about what it means to go through this process, right? When we are having to put ourselves out there and become vulnerable. So a part of this trust and operating in truth means that we have to, and to be able to forgive ourselves and do this inward reflective work means that we have
Yes,
to allow ourselves to become vulnerable. And
yes,
that the vulnerability then means that we have to be willing to sacrifice a part of ourselves that we might not want to, because that is seen as our only ability to have strength, right? Or the only way that we have the upper hand, because that's the thing that we've put our trust into to help us get us along the way, because that's only been the unsure, surefire thing that has allowed us to go through. And I'm saying it this way because, again, I'm thinking about myself. I've always known that fighting has always been the sure, unsure, surefire thing that will get me through. It is not that I am at heart a fighter. Like I didn't want to, but I had to in order for to survive, because of the state and conditions, or the environment in which I was in. And so it transformed me to take on an identity that I didn't necessarily want to take on. And if I was, in fact, to show any vulnerability in that environment, I might not have survived. So I thought. Until now, as I progress through this, I see life and I allow myself to be able to shed some of these old ways of thinking and put boundaries in place that should have been in place in the beginning. I now see that my environments change. and that the things that would I would encounter in one environment I don't encounter in another, and that my ability to be vulnerable is not my weakness, but it is my strength. And therefore, I can trust the process just a little bit deeper. That might
But
be
it
a heavy
has
thing
to
for
do, but
someone,
it's tied, but that's, and that is true. But it's tied to the things that you hold as true.
right?
Because are you, what is it that you're putting your trust in? Because whatever we trust in, we're vulnerable to that thing that we trust. We open ourselves up. We become dependent on that thing, that person to show up, that situation to always be the same. I'm dependent on that thing. And so I've opened myself up to be vulnerable in that area. And when I'm opening myself up to be vulnerable, I have to be very careful about that because there is a wise way of functioning in that
The way that
vulnerability.
seems is right to a man, right?
And then there's a way that puts her, again, the way that is
Which,
disrespecting me and who I am and who I was created to be because I'm depending upon a situation and a thing and a relationship that I shouldn't be trusting in the first place because that thing is not trustworthy. That situation is not one that I should be trusting in. But I'm trusting in it to, and I'm praying that and praying to God that this situation is going to work out. I mean, I've seen myself in certain ways, and I've show up and I'm like, oh, this shouldn't have happened to me. Why? And I found myself putting myself in a position of victim, playing that victim role out. And true, certain situations have played itself against me, but it's only because I was allowing them to. Because it was never a place and a time where I was without options, but it was where I was trusting and not trusting the strength that I had within myself to function in a different way, to move beyond this thing, not trusting that this is a process that I am going to be able to get through, that there's a lesson that needs to be and taken from this that I'm needing to get me to the next stage that I need to go. So my lack of understanding was killing me.
yeah. There's something in there that is speaking to the fact that it is where our focus of our desire is that causes us to um, sway what our boundaries, our standards are that cause us to distrust ourselves and the systems per se, family systems or any other systems that are put in place to quote unquote protect us. And when I say that, it's not dependent on another person's system. It's our own internal and external systems that we might put into place for ourselves to keep the checks and the
Our
balances.
belief systems, those things that we
Yes.
do, the order that we've given to our own lives of this is how I'm going to operate in this, and I'm not going to let this happen to me, and you can't speak to me this way, and I'm not going to allow my life to go this way. I'm out of here. You know, though I'm angry, I'm going to fight to the end. I'm going to stand and show up this way regardless.
So how do we, and I'm asking this as it's not really a question to you, Mom, but I'm putting it out there about the focus of our desires. Because our desire could be, I could desire to want to be with this person so badly, even though they are quote unquote ill, because they might be ill for me, they might not be ill for themselves, right? That
Yeah,
they're
they're
ill,
not right for me.
and I could pray, hope, wish, want to manifest them in their healthiest space. But until they get there, I'm going to go through. And the going through process means that my trust might be damaged, my physical self-esteem might be damaged. Like all of these things could be
Because I
damaged in the
open myself
process.
up to be, I'm vulnerable in that situation.
Right. But
My
people will,
desires have exposed me. Even though I
yeah.
may know that that can't, isn't that something what we do? Because even when we know that that situation itself can't, is not to be trusted, we go against our own best judgment of things because of the momentary, what is the fleshly, that flesh, we say, we call it the fleshly part of us But even
But it's
sometimes when
not.
it is a desire to do good, the
Yeah.
desire that I may have too, Monika, could be just, it could be a good desire, a good one. I want to be, look, I'm going to go to church. I want to do good for people. I don't feel I'm doing enough. And so I
Mm.
want to minister to this one. I want to reach people for God. I want to do all of these things. And so I'm fighting to get this one. And anything that opposes me and what I'm thinking should be and how I think it should go, I'm thinking it's against me. And that's not what God wants for me. And so I'm putting up this battle. And everywhere I turn, I'm encountering these same obstacles. My husband at home, if I'm a woman, she's not support, I'm not being supported in it. Or if it's for the husband, my wife's not supportive of me, and I'm doing this for God.
Yeah. That's a form of manipulation though, if we didn't know that as we try to say I'm doing this for God and I'm doing all this for that, that is also a form of manipulation. I'm just throwing it out there. Calvin says if we truly believe that everything happens for a reason, then there is no reason for forgiving, but for giving thanks for the experience, whether positive or negative. Hmm.
That is a truth that we find hard to swallow often, because in the moment, in our humanness, in our feeling as if something has been taken from us, because that's what happens. Like, I'm being robbed of something, I'm being
Right.
denied my joy, my peace is being stolen, I'm being squashed. And so I'm seeing even this, my pain. This was a senseless act. Even we think about all the atrocities, the school shootings, the shooting in the supermarkets, the churches, all of these things that we see happening around us, the economy, all of these tragic things that we see happening to us. It's hard. We
Happening
say,
to us. Mhm.
that's what we say. This is what's happening, and this is a horrible world. And I don't know, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And it becomes a matter of our perspective and how we begin to see it. Does it make it more palatable? We try to make it more palatable, so that we can deal with it. But in essence, there is a negative about it.
Right.
There is a wrong. That's when I say a wrongness, there is an out of, I'll put it this way, there is something out of order.
Right. I think that the
It's
forgiving,
against the order of what should be, what the original intent of how things were supposed to operate. So I put it that way. When
right.
we think about whether it's in order, out of order, when it's out of order, we feel the unease, the dis-ease, and uncomfort.
Yeah, I think that the forgiving part of this is about giving permission to be able to do it again. I just think about again when I'm going to bring it back to scripturally, like when it says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." It was
Yeah,
giving permission. It was almost as it was an ability to say, I can still continue to have a chance to get it right. And I think the forgiveness piece is yes, we give thanks. We give thanks for the ability to be able to learn from the experience, but I can learn and still not move forward in the direction that I should go or still
yeah,
feel
and
stagnant.
that's what we were saying. I was saying before, what Calvin says, how he Calvin framed this is because we're not, the forgiving is the moving beyond on,
Hmm.
without the weight, without, like I said, leaving a piece of us back there. Because remember,
Yeah.
forgiveness is really not about so much about the other person. It's
Right.
about our being tied to these places and situations and incidents because we can't let it go. And every
Yeah.
time our mind goes to that place where it is, we hold on to it. We're holding
Yeah.
on and we start to experience those feelings, and it gives us a rise, and we take ourselves back. We go those
Yeah.
two steps forward, we go back one step forward and two steps back. Why am I being pulled back to this place? Because I'm not able to, as you said, to move on and let it go.
Yeah. Letting go is difficult. Shout out to our brother and our friend Ned. How are you doing? Thank you for listening with us. Calvin says, our human desire to seek pleasure and comfort is so powerful and natural that it blinds or overrides our logic. I'll even push it further.
Oh, when I stay stuck.
Yeah,
I
our
stay
bodies
stuck
keep the
because the thought
score.
of moving is so painful because the energy that is going to take me to move beyond this space and this I can stay in a negative relationship on a job. I'm guilty of these things. I stay. Why am I feeling so bound to this situation or a place? I can't leave my child. I think this place where I grew up and my family for generations has been in this town. It's dead. It's dying. And I complain about it and I complain about it. And I can tell you all the stuff that's wrong and negative about it. But I do not have the energy. There's a fear the pain is not of being there is not enough to move me out of that to the next place
Yes.
because it'll be the comfort. I don't know. It's the unknown. That fear
Yeah,
that comes in.
that's it. It's and I want to add to that because yes, our human desire is to seek pleasure. It's to reason and to carry out and find
Avoid
why
pain
of
and all
things and to
this.
avoid right for comfort. But sometimes, again, it's and I want to say it in a way that's easy to digest. Sometimes the thing that we're looking for is not even about pleasure or comfort that our what we've experienced in life, we've become so stuck in a certain way of seeing and or in an untruth. The untruth has become a reality for us that we stay bound to a certain type of living perspective, seeing ourselves in a certain light and space. We stifle ourselves from our own growth.
That's remember the belief system create our truth creates a belief system that sets in
Yeah,
place some boundaries, and those boundaries can become walls that
yeah,
imprison us. And so we don't move, we don't grow because we've gotten stuck there.
yeah. We have a new user. We don't know who you are because we don't have a name, but we thank you for listening and joining us. And we love the fact that you are participating with us this evening. You said, yes, I believe that things are out of order. Yes, forgive them or for them to get it right and do better. We thank you for speaking and listening to our small truths to help us get to the
But
greater big T truth.
I know, Monika, I don't want us to disorder this thing about order.
Right. Let's address it.
We really have to pursue the order. Order is connected to our roles and our functions, our creative
Mhm.
innate roles and functions. And when we're not functioning how we've been created to function and how
Everything
we're
is out
being
of order.
called to show, and we're not showing up the way we've been called to show up, we are out of order.
Order.
And therefore, the pain
We
points, the
experience.
discomfort, all of these things that are happening in life start to,
That's where we
it
think
captures
that
them in
we
a
have to
negative way.
use what we got to get what we want because things are out of order. We
That's exactly, and
misunderstand
so
the
we think that's the only
assignments.
way we can get it. The thing, but again, when we're doing that, we're functioning, we're continuing to function out of order, and we're perpetuating our situation. We may
Yeah.
be able to move beyond that place to another place, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, but it's only going to be temporary because we're going to soon find ourselves right back there again.
Yeah. It says some of us will, Brother Ned says some of us will stay in those places because of comfort, afraid to move because of the work required. The work
And
required.
remember that statement of the state of frozen dependence,
Yes.
a psychologically frozen
Psychological
state of
sovereignty of
dependence.
dependence. Yes. So let's explain that a little bit more. Let's unravel that because I think that we can be in that state and not even know that we are in that state. We're thinking we're progressing, but really in reality, we are moving um, on the treadmill, going nowhere.
Well, what happens is for me, I see that we have, because of our vulnerability,
Hmm.
then we have become comfortable. That comfort is, in turn, is the place where we're dependent. And
Right,
that's why we have that codependency thing that develops. The situation needs us to continue in order for it to continue like it is. And we
right.
need it in order for us to validate and say, because we've
This
assumed
is
this
who I
position
am.
and think
Mm.
this how we're showing up. We think that this is the only
False
way we can
identities.
show up.
We've taken on these false
False,
identities.
and so it keeps perpetuating itself. As psychologically, I needed to be able to affirm and give myself any value or self-worth, even if it's a negative value or negative. It's like we talk about children and people wanting attention, even if it's negative attention. But at least that way,
Hmm.
I see somebody's paying attention to me in this relationship. So in order for me not to feel completely isolated and like no one and alone, then I have to continue this game. I continue to go in this cycle, even though it's not what I want. It's not what I
Right.
desire. I'm I'm desiring what I'm really desiring. It's like I said to you years ago. Is it the job that you need?
No.
Is it because I need money? Is it the
The
money that you
money?
need?
No.
Or is it the sustenance that you need? And is that the
Right.
only way that you can be sustained? And where's your trust? And that's why we as Christians, we say that our trust is in God and that we don't look to the economy, even though the economy may seem to fail. Our trust is in a higher source that we know that there are ways for us to be sustained other than those ways
Hmm.
that tied to men and how things are operating on the outside of us. That there's a God who can open up and make a way out of no way. That we can go through the waters of the Red Sea can be parted for us to get to our destination. That's because our beliefs, our truths, and
Hmm.
our belief systems have placed us above the situation, the cultural and economic situation and circumstance. And so we can say we've learned to make ends meet because we know this is only a temporary state. And then we're putting that energy out there and allowing God to be God because we're dependent, vulnerable to Him and what He said about us because we believe in His promises that what He said is true. And we believe that I am the child of God to whom it is promised that He has begun this work, that He is going to be
A
faithful.
good in me.
All because for a Christian, where I have no sense but to believe those things, because otherwise, for me, I feel crushed, and so that's where my hope comes from.
But as a Christian, and I'm going to say, I'm going to take out Christian. I'm going to say, as an individual, we have to understand that we are not where we are because of just the singular space that we exist in, that we can't
Yeah.
fully understand the order of who we are supposed to be unless we carry it out in community with the other. And I think that the part about the manipulation piece is that it feels good. The end result of it feels good for the moment.
Temporarily,
Yes, for the
temporarily.
moment. That's what I said. For the moment. But
Because
when we're
even
really,
the substances that we ingest
yes,
are a form of manipulation. We're
yes,
trying to manipulate our feelings and manipulate our situations, give us empower ourselves.
it's
And
the
so whether it's
perfect
sex, whatever it
lie.
is,
Yes, the perfect lie that we
yes,
tell ourselves to be able to get ourselves to be comfortable and satisfied
to
with
endure
the
these
way in which
moments.
we live. Right. And that's because we have been unwilling not to and I know that it might sound bad, but it is we've been unwilling to do that work. And Calvin says the work Ned is referring to is the work on self. We love
Yes.
working on others. The self work is hard and requires sacrifice and change. And can I say that is why we are here? this space, when I came to my mom and I said, it's supposed to be this, and this is what I want to do. And it has to be something that's really transparent, that's going to be different from other spaces where it's like I'm supposed to give my story, a space of witness and testimony. We transform because of other people's testimonies and witnesses, our vulnerability. Again, where we're weak, that
And
is
we
where we're strong.
overcome. And we
Right.
overcome.
But that means that I no longer feed my ego. That
Ah.
means that I dread doing these conversations the way I do.
I have to let go and move. I have to
Yes.
let go of some of my old truths. I have to really do some self-examination and look at these things that
Yes.
I held true. Even some of these things, and I should, I don't want to, I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. But even some of our old scriptural beliefs, are based upon misinterpretations of scripture
Yes.
and
Speak on it.
misapplication, that we have to be comfortable enough and allow the Spirit of God, who we say that Spirit that leads and guides us to all truths, allow it to begin to work in us and do the work that it is intended to do, so that we can show up, even if it means that we're showing up in the self work net, we're showing up against the grain.
Yes. Yes.
Because we're needed
Mm.
to show up against the grain, because we need to bring others. That's how others are going to be brought along to their deliverance. Because remember, even for those who believe in the work of Christ, he showed up as one who went against the
The
grain.
grain. And
He
that's
blurred,
important.
he blurred the lines.
Yeah. That's because the lines are blurred because we're taking on
But it has
identities.
to be the truth, the right truth. It has to
Right.
be the truth that
All of the
stands.
identities that we've taken on in order to cope with society, to cope with our ways of living, in order to exist, they have to come off. We have to get to the root of that. And we have to really do the self assessment to really acknowledge the fact that maybe that ain't really a part of
It
what I
ain't the
was trying.
man. Maybe it wasn't
Yeah,
her. Maybe it
the
wasn't him.
motive,
Maybe it's
right?
not the kids. Maybe it's not the job. Maybe it wasn't the town.
The
Maybe it
motive.
wasn't the relationship with the church. Maybe it wasn't that church and the deacon wasn't that path. Maybe it was me.
And then I forgive and I
I let
move
go.
forward.
I walk away. I step and allow it to myself to separate from that, to cling and cleave, to cleave to these new truths that are unfolding and recognize that they do unfold,
The
that I'm not a
affirmations.
possessor. That's why we come on these shows, Monika, we say we're not a possessor and an owner of the truth.
Nope.
We are
I work through it.
seekers, seekers and keepers.
Mm. I am my sister and my brother's keeper. And
Yes,
the
as I
only
seek,
way that I can take that on is by letting go of the ego and saying, God, less of me, more of you. And then by the rotation of the affirmations that for I know the plans I have for you, for
yes,
me, it's only for to prosper me, that I was created as head and not tail. All of these beautiful things that I've been created in the image of, that God dwells no longer. The Spirit of the Lord is not just upon me, but it is in me.
in
And so
me.
because of that, I can believe
That's
that
my hope.
I have the ability to sustain even in the midst of and find the peace even in the midst of the rain, right? Because
It
it's
may have
within
been
me.
meant for evil.
But oh,
And it may have been a horrible thing, and we cannot deny it. We acknowledge, we tell the truth, but we move
yeah.
on. We move on and say that you meant it for evil. Society might have meant it for evil.
And they may have
Culturally, it was
created
set up for evil.
the
It might
weapons.
have been.
Hmm. We love each and every one of our listeners. We love all of you who take the time out of your busy days to
The
come and
seekers, the
sit
seekers. We
in
love the
this
seeker
space.
in you.
Yes, that's it. With us as we continue to do the work of seeking. We might have brief conversations, but we never know where these conversations are going to go. We are doing is we're trying to do the inward work and we want you to be a part of the journey with us, and that whatever it is that God gives to us, we give back to you. And it is our prayer that in our obedience that you may reciprocate the same, because this doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to mommy. It belongs all to God, and we give thanks. Mom, did you
And
want
I
to
just
close
add
out with
this.
anything?
Yes. Well, I like to close with this. We have a prayer, and our prayer is for clarity. And
Hmm.
we say that as we engage in these conversations, we pray to God to give us the topics, to give us the wisdom, the insight, the nuggets of truths to share. And so we say to all of our listeners and participants, those of you who engage with us, allow the Spirit of God, that Spirit of truth in you, to move in you as you hear these conversations, that it challenges you, challenges your truth, so that you are not moved into false identity, but that you are moved out of your comfort zone, away from the
Yes.
stuckness, that you are
Mm.
released, your walls will start to break down, and that you begin to think and see yourself in a new way, that you are able to engage and encounter life, and then do the work of keeper that you've been called to be, knowing that you too will
You
be
too
kept.
are kept. Yes. We love you guys. Join us next
Mhm.
week back here in the throne room for barbershop conversations. Our brother, our friend Ned, he's going to have an awesome show lined up for you. If you are wanting to tune in with me and mom, please join us again tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Win Win Women's Network, TV network, for the Aspire to Higher show. We'll be back at it talking to you again about ways to do this thing called life. We love you guys, and we'll see you all next week.
Mhm.